want to hear or not want to hear and go back and so on and so forth. I'm going to try to be very brief because I don't want to really bore you too much. And when I talked with Carlos about a week ago about coming out and speaking with everyone today, and also Mr. Cho, I had a chance to meet with the accountant as well. And unfortunately, with him being a first-generation person here, there may be some language miscommunication, so they asked me to come out and speak. And so I'm kind of partly communicating the accountant's version of this and also my understanding of it as well. I started to come out here and I started to think about using a bunch of numbers and facts and figures and try to prove to everybody that I know accounting, and I felt that that just would not be appropriate. But I wanted to try to really think about something that would be very useful for everyone involved with this struggle. Because in fact, and I'm very encouraged because I love a struggle, and I think anybody that comes out of San Francisco State, you know, we love struggles out there. We just have created a culture like that. So what I want to talk about today was how do people who come from a culture of poverty meet the challenges of the future? I personally am a product of a culture from poverty. My family knows a lot about struggling, and I think a lot of people in here know a lot about struggling. But we had something a little bit different back then. We still had people, we had family members, we had people that were involved, we still had a lot of intelligent people who were still looking out for our best interests. And now it's time to kind of pass the torch. People that are my generation, Carlos' generation, you know, we have to get involved. I mean, I think today is so monumental, the fact that we're sitting on the eve of the installation of a new president. And how are we going to be impacted by him being installed, if at all? And on top of that, what can we do? There's a belief among people that if you gave every person, both rich and poor, $1 million, you'd find that over a period of time, those who came from a culture of means will end up with all the money as opposed to those who come from a culture of poverty. And why is that so? Because if most of us in here understand the voices and the echoes of a culture of poverty, things like paying the bill when they come to get you. You know, when they used to be back in the day, they'd come to your door and knock and inquire about the electric bill or inquire about the insurance payment before they cut you off. Now they can just cut you off right from the office. They can come and take your TV, they can take your cable TV and shut you off from the office and turn you back on from the office. Another voice from the culture of poverty, pray for a better tomorrow. Let's just pretend it doesn't happen. Let's just pretend they're not coming for us. Let's just wait and see what kind of way they've decided to handle us. That's the way that people from a culture of poverty deal with things. And I understand this because my parents grew up like that. And we'd get happy during Christmas and we'd buy all types of things and we'd try to figure out how are we going to pay them. And it's the same thing with tomorrow. Tomorrow people are going to be very excited that a new president is going to be installed. But how will that impact us? How will that make our lives any better? Another echo from the voices of poverty is living paycheck by paycheck. You know, let's not save. Let's not think about the fact that I could walk across the street and get hit by a car. Let's not think about the fact that there could be some other crisis that could come up or that the roof will fall apart. All these types of things, and I understand them, and so I don't get upset when I see people that we talk about. I work for a major CPA, or should I say an African-American CPA firm here in San Francisco, and we deal with how to transfer wealth. And a lot of our clients are people who look like me, and a lot of people who look like you. And these are the people that we deal with, people who sometimes accidentally have done the right thing and now have accumulated a lot of wealth. And they're trying to figure out, what do we do with this wealth? How do I keep it? How do I prevent people from taking it away from me? So these are the kind of things that I understand for people who come from a culture of poverty. People who come from a culture of poverty are looking at, we are very visual people. We see people walking around with gold necklaces on their, around their neck. We see people wearing all the latest fashion and things of these sort. And that's our identity. That's who we are. And that's all we see is the outer side. But what we really don't see is what's happening with these people. Where are they going? Where are they going to be living? Who's in control of their destiny? Because clearly they are not. Another voice of poverty is that when things just go wrong, we're just going to deal with it. I'm just going to handle it through violence. That'll be the best way that I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to deal with it. Come and get me. Come and pull me out. And these are, as we all know, none of these are viable solutions to carry us into the future. It's unfortunate that not everyone here is going to be able to make it. And so the best that we can do is to try to put together some of the coalition and things that Carlos is talking about, that we need to find people who have advanced knowledge, and how do we also elevate the IQ of those people who don't know some of the advanced tools that we've been taught through these various institutions and practical experience. I've worked with a lot of, coming out of a culture of poverty, one of my missions has been working with senior citizens. I've also worked with a lot of challenged youth, and I've also worked with a lot of ex-offenders. And I can tell you that a lot of these people that I've worked with are probably some of the most intelligent people I've ever encountered. What makes them so intelligent? A lot of it, I think, just comes sometimes just from natural talent, adaptability. We've been able to adapt from day one. A lot of times when I tell people where we're going and things that we're doing, I first try to get them to understand who they are. Because I think before you have to understand who you are before you know where you're going. And I try to use a very simple example with them. I remember once I had a chance to go to Africa, and I had a chance to go to Ghana, which was the final port before they sent people off to various areas, whether it be the Caribbean, America, or wherever. And they had these compartments that, you know, when we think of slavery, we only think about men and women, young adults, whatever, but there were also babies there as well. And what they would do is they would take the babies, and I'm going to have to ask Professor Tashaka if I make some grammatical mistakes here, because I can see we've got somebody here that has advanced knowledge, and he can probably even give you more detail. But in short, what they would do is they would put these kids in something that looked like a dresser drawer with about 6 or 7 stacks on it. And they'd just put the baby in there. And they'd leave it there, no food, no water, whatever. And they would look at the ones, and in the morning, half of them would be dead, and the other half would be the strong ones. And it's the strong ones that they went on to the Middle Passage and then came on to America. So that's where people come from. And we're not slaves or any of that stuff. We were people who were enslaved. So I think that needs to be very clear. So once we understand those things, we also understand the adaptability of who we are. And how do we elevate ourselves from a culture of poverty? First, we must come to terms that we're not responsible for our past, but that we are very much in control of our future. How do we get in control of our future? We become in control of our future by understanding wealth. And if we don't, one of the things that is so exciting about this life is that we can find people in the African American community, non-African American community. There is so much information available. You can sit home on a computer and find all the information that you want and to need to understand finances, taxes, things of this sort. The second thing that you have to do is you have to recognize that the second thing is that you have to understand that we have to become more physically responsible. Right now, I know that there's a lot of struggles with the board right now and people sending out a lot of misinformation. That's how you deal with people from a culture of poverty. You deal with them with misinformation. You cause confusion, you put out numbers, and more importantly, which was talked about earlier, you have to employ fear tactics. You have to get people to understand, you have to put people in a position where they feel like they have to make these decisions. They have to go for the $40 million. I mean, when you divide that by 211 units, that comes to about $190,000 per unit. I mean, those of you who live here, I'm sure you can look around your house and say to yourself, are there really $190,000 worth of repairs that need to be done to my house? There may be, I think most people could probably say there might be 10 or 20 or 25, but $190,000 worth of repairs? I don't think so. So we have to be more physically responsible in understanding where and how this money, and I mean, and you don't need to go to college and you don't need to have an advanced degree to just look at your house and say, wait a minute, does this place really require $190,000 worth of repairs? I mean, there's, even in the Congress, they pass bills and they say that there's always some pork involved. So I think when you look at this kind of $190,000, I mean, I think you don't have to be a college professor to know there's some pork somewhere in there, and who's getting the pork. So we have to understand that, and these are things that, like I said before, you don't have to go to college to understand these. People who even come from a culture of poverty can understand things that's very as simple as this. We also have to understand that how to disseminate information. One of the things that an advanced degree does for you when you go to college